Hey there, everyone. What's up? Welcome to Christopher's Entertainment Blog. I'm your host, Chris, and welcome to my review video for DC's Legends of Tomorrow, Season 1, Episode 16, the season finale episode entitled Legendary. Overall, I had a really fun time with this season. I thought it was a fantastic season for this show. I know a lot of people doubted this show, wondering if it was going to be able to work. I mean, how things are going to work with this show. I mean, you got all these different characters, and it actually turned out really well. I think there was a few rocky episodes here and there, but then there was also a few really good episodes. And this finale, I think, was a excellent season finale. I do think that the episode did go a little fast. I mean, it moved really quickly. A lot of stuff happening. I do think it was a little bit convoluted, especially towards the end when you start bringing in the meteorites and the different timelines, and then everything that was happening. It was a little hard to follow at times, but um, it was a little cram packed with a lot of stuff as well. I mean, they put everything into this. I mean, you have all the different timelines, you have different characters in timelines, you have our characters going back to 2016, starting their lives over again, and then you have them getting back on the Wave Rider again and continuing the mission, and then going after Savage, and then you have the storyline with Kendra and Carter going on, and then you have the ending, the big ending reveal with Rex Tyler coming in there. I mean, a lot of stuff happened in this episode, but overall, I think it was an excellent episode, and I had a really fun time with it. I did have a few positives and a few negatives. Let me get into my first positives, though. I really like how they connected the three meteorites in there. I actually totally forgot that there was actually meteorites throughout this season. I completely forgot about them. It's just like it didn't even weren't even in the front of my mind. I mean, they were in the back of my mind, and then in this finale they connect those three meteorites together. I completely forgot that we dealt with these meteorites throughout the entire season from the very beginning in 1975, and then the one in 1958, and then you're dealing with the one in this episode in 2021. I I thought it was fantastic how they combined all that stuff together, and how the team split up into different sections and fought off each version of Vandal Savage in each of these timelines. I thought that was really crazy idea, really fantastic sci-fi comic booky type story that was going on. It was really cool. I really enjoyed how they did all that, and how each team dealt with Vandal Savage in their own way, and dealt with each meteorite in their own way as well. Then you had the Ray Palmer and Heatwave collaboration, which I think those two are fantastic together. That's another positive. But you had them deal with it in their own way, where they actually lit Vandal Savage on fire. Heatwave did, so I'm sure that made him happy to actually kill Vandal Savage by using his Heatwave gun. So that was awesome. And then you had Palmer actually shrink the meteorite down to microscopic size, and it just exploded and didn't really do anything. I thought that was awesome. And then you had the 2021 thing where you had Hawkman, you had Hawkgirl, and they were fighting, finally fighting together after all this time. I mean, it just seems ridiculous that they were separated almost all this entire season, and to actually see them come together at the end was fantastic, and actually have Kendra actually kill Vandal Savage, I thought was great. And then you see Rip really dealing the final blow, throwing him into that electrified fence or whatever that was. That was fantastic. Like I said before, another positive was the friendship between Mick and Palmer. I really like those two. I thought they worked well together. And that scene where Palmer reveals himself to be Heatwave's getaway driver, and Heatwave had no idea what was going on. I thought that was really funny. And I really feel that the team members of this team that have come the furthest, I think, are Mick Rory and Leonard Snart. Obviously, those two were willing to sacrifice each other to save the team in the end. And in the end, it was Captain Cold who actually sacrificed himself for the team. And I think those two have come the furthest in this season. I really do. From the beginning of them being just hardened criminals, and even that episode in this season where Mick wanted to stay behind in that futuristic Star City, and he wanted to rule the gangs and be a crime lord and everything. Now we actually see him wanting to stay with the team, wanting to be a part of the team, and a complete 180. I mean, he's done a complete 180 in his personality, and I think he's becoming one of the more interesting characters on the team as well. So that was really cool. I really liked the part where Rip was ready to sacrifice himself for the team, that he was finally ready to do what he hasn't really been doing the entire season. He was sending the other teammates off to do dangerous stuff so he could stay behind, and he was really putting his family first and trying to sacrifice the team for his own agenda, really. And then you see in this that where he finally puts himself out there and he's ready to drive the ship into the sun to save not just the team but the whole entire planet. And that whole moment where he sees his family and then he embraces his family, I thought that was going to be it, when he embraces his family and then the light engulfs them. I thought that was it. I thought he died. He sees his family, he embraces his family, he gets some closure that his family is gone. He ain't going to be able to save them, unfortunately. And that's what he set out to do. And it's just something that he's just going to have to put that behind him. And I think he got some closure right there. And I thought that was going to be it. I thought that was going to be a powerful scene. But then it turned out it was kind of like a dream. I mean, I knew it was a dream anyway. But, we see that Gideon actually knocks him out of that dream sequence and says, I don't want to die. And it basically was Gideon that really saved the day, really. And he was end up, turning the Wave Rider around. And that whole scene was great. I really, really enjoyed it. I also really like in this episode that when Rip, in the first part of this episode, Rip actually leaves the team off in 2016, takes off on his own, and then you see the team trying to get back to their daily life, daily routines, and they really don't want to go back to their daily lives. They want to finish what they started. They want to get Vandal Savage. They want to get rid of him. They want to find Kendra and Carter. They want to finish what they started on in this season, and I really like that they wanted to come together. They wanted to fight Vandal Savage. I really, really like that, how the team come together and really, really wanted to finish what they started. I thought that was fantastic. I really liked the fact that we actually got that scene with Captain Lance and Sarah finding out that Laurel was gone, that she had been killed. I know everyone's been wanting to see that now for the last 3-4 episodes, and they finally did it, and it really kind of ties in with Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow, because in Arrow, the last episode of Arrow, we actually see Captain Lance being left behind in the Arrow Cave, and in this we see Sarah go into the Arrow Cave, and there is Captain Lance. So we see that those two actually come together quite nicely in this episode, and I actually thought it was great resolution to actually finally have Sarah know what happened to Laurel, and that she wanted to actually kill Rip Hunter to actually take her back in time to actually save Laurel. And his explanation of how to do it, I mean, it kind of makes sense, but it's just like, also like, didn't you just go back in time like a bunch of times to try to save your family? So, that's a little weird, but I did like the fact that they did try to explain it somehow. And they actually finally told Sarah about Laurel. So I really like that scene, especially between Lance and Sarah. I thought was great. Um, and keep in mind, we also have Black Siren on the Flash. They never killed her. She's actually in the particle accelerator prison or whatever. So something might come of that eventually. So I think down the road they're probably going to do something with that character. So it should be fascinating where we go with that. One of my last but not least positives for this episode was the actual ending of this episode, where we actually got to see another Wave Rider come in, and it turns out that it's the character Rex Tyler, who is the Hour Man in the comic books, and he's actually says that he is from the Justice Society of America. I was just like, wow, this is going to be an incredible second season, that they're bringing in the actual Justice Society. They're bringing in Rex Tyler. Who knows who else they're going to bring in there. I don't know a lot about the Justice Society of America or Rex Tyler. So if you guys know anything about it, please write in the comments below. Let me know. And let me know your predictions of what's going to happen with this whole Justice Society and Rex Tyler. It should be fascinating what they do with this. I mean, I think they have infinite options they could do with this character. And I'm really excited to see what happens next. I really, really am. But I did have a few negatives on this episode, just a couple, not too big of a deal. The first one was kind of a nitpick negative. It was the part where Rip was actually fighting with Vandal Savage up on top of the building in 2021. He actually falls off the building, and then he like has his arms crossed and he's rising up, and he's on top of the Wave Rider. I'm just like, how did the Wave Rider get down there? I mean, that was a little convenient. And then when he falls over at first, you see Kendra and Carter like look at each other like, oh well. I'm like, can't you two can fly? I mean, why don't you dive off after him? I'm just like, that was a little weird. Another negative that I have was not from this episode per se, but from the actual crossover they had back when Flash and Arrow was on, and they were beginning this whole journey. Really, it was they actually fought Vandal Savage in the crossover, if any of you remember, and they actually killed Vandal Savage then. And then Malcolm Merlyn actually takes his ashes and keeps his ashes. I was really hoping that we would get some resolve from that little bit of a loophole to find out what the heck was Malcolm Merlyn doing with his ashes. They didn't explain that at all. They didn't touch on that at all. They didn't talk about that at all. So I have to believe that down the line, eventually, maybe next season or the season after that, we are going to get something with those ashes. That maybe they'll bring Vandal Savage back again. I don't think Vandal Savage is gone completely. I just don't, because that loophole is still out there with Malcolm Merlyn having the ashes of Vandal Savage. So I have to believe that eventually they are going to talk about that or do something with that eventually down the line. So that should be interesting. But I was a little disappointed that they didn't explain that or talk about that at all. But other than that, guys, I thought it was a really great, excellent finale for this season. It should be fascinating what we do from here on out with next season. We actually find out that there's going to be a huge crossover next season between Legends of Tomorrow, Flash, Arrow, and now the newly acquired CW Supergirl. So that is going to be incredible. I think that's going to be great. And it should be interesting of who they're going to get now on the team now that Hawkman and Hawkgirl are gone. Leonard Snart is he's dead, technically. So it should be interesting to see who else they get on the team. I'd really like to see Vixen and Constantine. Those two are my two picks that I'd really like to see. Hey guys, if there's any other characters that you guys like to see, please write in the comments. But yeah, guys, I really had a really fun time with this season, and I'm so happy that it's coming back for season 2, because I know there was a lot of question at first because this season was a very expensive season, very expensive show to produce, and I really like the fact that they're bringing it back for a second season, and it should be really, really cool what they do with it, especially bringing in the Justice Society and all that. That should be really, really cool. But yeah, guys, if there's anything that I missed in this episode, because I know there was a lot of stuff, please write in the comments below what you really liked about this episode, or anything you didn't like about this episode. Please write in the comments below. But that will do it for me for this season for Legends of Tomorrow. I will see you guys next season. Until then, take it easy.